With this evening's reflection, we begin the Sacred Triduum, which culminates on Easter Sunday. But tonight's reflection from the Gospel of St. John begins our 3-day journey to the resurrection, a journey of love. Jesus knew his hour had come, and the events of the sacred time were already in motion. Judas Iscariot was already induced by the devil to hand Jesus over to the Jewish authorities. Jesus, being fully aware of who he is and the power given him by the Father, was about to institute the Eucharist at the Last Supper. But before he gives us this greatest of gifts, he does something extraordinary. He gets up from the table, takes off his cloak, puts on an apron, and begins to wash the feet of his disciples and dry their feet with the apron around his waist. What is so extraordinary about this is that what Jesus did was usually the work of the lowliest of the slaves, who were good for nothing else. And now he is the master doing this chore. As usual, it is Peter who questions and objects, but the Lord is patient with him and with us. Just as an aside, of all the characters, both in the Old and the New Testament, after Jesus, Peter is my favorite. It's so easy to relate to him. He seems to hop through the gospel because he always seems to have his foot in his mouth and only stops long enough to change feet. He is so much like me, and I am sure like many of you. In the dialogue between Jesus and Peter, Peter flip-flops so much. He goes from objecting to the Lord washing his feet to wanting the Lord to bathe him completely. How patient and loving is the Lord with him and with us when we don't understand or throw one of our little tantrums. After Jesus had finished washing the disciples' feet, he put his cloak back on and once again reclined at table and began to teach the disciples and us to understand the great example he just gave us. If we are going to be his disciples, then we must be willing to serve each other by using our gifts and talents that he has given us. We were baptized as priest, prophet, and king. Kingship implies servanthood. If we are to be good disciples of the Lord now in this 21st century, we must be humble enough to be servant leaders. May the good Lord, in his infinite and unconditional love, continue to bless us and draw us ever closer to him.